Welcome on this Axopar 25 crossbow. We took it out this morning early on a beautiful lake. There's hardly any wind, so we thought we'd not even drop an anchor but just leave it floating around here. And just to show you how great this bow area is, I decided to start like this and do a bit of lounging on this great seat/lounge area here. I really like this setup with this of course cabin more or less below here, offering also the possibility to have a great lounge area here on the bow. And as we're used to with Axopar, the ergonomics are again really good. You may notice these small things. They are meant to grab onto while driving, or if there's a bit of waves and you're anchoring and you want to hold on to something. This is actually quite convenient. A backrest here with an opening so that the light still is able to pour into the cabin, which I think is really nice. It just makes you feel more comfortable being in the cabin when you have some natural/daylight. So a good solution. To my personal taste, this backrest is a bit low, but that again is easily solved when you bring another cushion and you put it here, even or especially if you lift up this window in front here, then you'll have a proper backrest here if you want to stay here for quite some time. There's cup holders here on both sides, and you may notice that this bow area has been made in an asymmetrical setup. There's only a small gunnel here to drain the water, and this is the area where you actually walk forward or aft. There's stainless steel 316 quality, of course, bow railings, powder coated in black, something that I really like. Usually with the other Axopar 28 and 37s, this is only used if you choose the Brabus line version. I haven't heard of a Brabus line version yet on the 25, but this more or less already is a bit of a Brabus line with these nice powder coated black railings. Nice upholstery also with some nice detailing, such as these contrasting panels here on the edges. Of course, there's non-skid here on the deck, and you could actually also walk to the aft going on this side. It is narrow, but there's non-skid here, so in case you do need to be here, if you want to attach a fender or something, this is still a place you could even walk on. There's deck lights. You may notice the small light on that side. So there's deck lights also. Of course, this is a boat with options. We as a dealer didn't even get to choose which options we wanted, because these are the first series of the Axopar 25 crossbow. So Axopar set this up, and to be honest, I think if I were the one to set it up, I would do nearly the same, because it's a well-equipped boat with the bow thruster, with the V8 250 horsepower and other things, which I'll come to later. So a really nice configuration. Of course, there's an anchor locker in the bow. This is not only an anchor locker, but just a big locker/storage. There's a cover now in here, but it is actually big, and of course this is the place to put your anchor in. But there's still space enough, I should say, to store some fenders, lines, or other things. It's lockable, you may notice this. And of course you have the nice Axopar engraved cleats here on the bow area. Notice also that actually the bow is quite wide. And with these railings, this is actually a great and practical way of getting on and off the boat if you tend to more bow first. And this is also made in a way that you can actually attach a bow roller here. I don't know all the options yet. I'm not sure about an anchor winch, but I'm nearly sure that there will be one, or there may even already be one. But this is set up in a way that it's possible. So that is about the bow area. Let me just go aft. One thing that I am forgetting is that there's also a hatch underneath these cushions. Of course, you can take them off. You could cover them with a rain cover, but if you take them off, there's a hatch below here, offering further daylight in the bow cabin area. But I think a lot of people will leave this on in practice. And going back, there's a few steps here. There's a subwoofer. Again, this is a well-equipped Axopar 25. But this has the full audio with the upgrades. So a really nice setup. You may notice this filler cap, which is for the waste tank. There's a filler cap here for the fuel. And of course, there's another one for the water system, because there's also a shower. But coming here to the helm, a really nice setup with a big screen. This is a 12-inch setup. I think this is the NSS from Simrad. Really good screens. One thing that I always tend to forget mentioning is that they are really bright, and we have a beautiful day today. It's early in the morning, so the sun is a bit low still. And if it catches the full sun rays, it's still clearly visible. That is something that I extremely like about these Simrad screens. But not only that, and that's the thing I'm forgetting, I have my sunglasses here. And most people on boats use polarized sunglasses. And they sometimes have the disadvantage that screens get less good to watch. But this is made in a way that even with polarized sunglasses, they can be used. A great setup here at the helm. I truly like the ergonomics. Again, there's a footrest here. I mean, you could slide the seat forward and aft. But I'll come to that later when we do a bit of driving. This is just made in a way that you see everything clearly. The bow thruster is quickly accessible with your left hand. Of course, you use the throttles with your right hand. You can tilt the steering wheel. There's a watertight USB connector here, very practical to charge a phone or something. Here, there's the trim tabs, switches, cup holders, a small one, a bigger one. So a really nice setup. 12-inch screen, but I think there's even space to put twin 9-inch screens, which I'm not sure will be an option, but we could make it anyway. Some people are used to on the 28 with these really nice 12-inch setups. So I expect people to take that down to smaller boats and have twin setups at the helm here. Again, I'm not sure that Axopar will be offering that, but that is what I expect people will be wanting. There's some pockets here for storage, really nice. And here, of course, this is really nice being relatively high. You're sheltered, especially useful when you have small kids. They don't tend to fall out of the boat easily. But this also is really good if you are, for example, fishing, and when you're angling here, you don't fall overboard that easily. Then again, it is relatively high, so if you want to get on and off the boat, this is a really practical step. And there's a second one here. What Axopar has done really well is that they didn't use this spot for the middle cleat, so that you have non-skid here as a step, and the middle cleat here, which I think is an option, by the way. This, being powder coated in black again, is also very useful to attach the fenders. I really like this because you're not stuck to certain positions when you want to use the fenders by being able to use the cleats only, because as you can see, you can attach them here, or of course further towards the bow. Nice upholstery. This is the U sofa setup. I really like this setup, and I think most people will be choosing this setup instead of the other, the multi-storage setup, which has advantages, of course, especially if you're a wakeboarder, water skier. If you do a lot of water sports, you tend to tow things and you want to store them easily. Having the multi-storage is a great solution, but this setup is a really, I would call it a cozy social setup, a really nice area. I'm usually not so fond of turning these seats on a video because it may be a bit cumbersome, but let me try it anyway this time because I just want to show you how nice this setup can be if you just turn these seats. Imagine being here with a big group of friends and sitting here and just look at how big it is. I think this could easily take 5 people really comfortably, but maybe even up to 7 people or 8. So a great big cockpit with a nice table. Of course there's cup holders on different places. So a really nice cockpit. Speakers here. There's speakers also here and there's speakers inside. So again, this has the full audio. And I also like these storage area below here. We just put the lines and stuff here. And what I like about them is that they're open. So they're just open from the sides and also from the forward part right here. So if you want to put fenders or lines in, it's just a matter of pushing them in, not having to open a hatch or something. Just really convenient and quickly accessible. Of course, there's a big storage below this floor area here. We put the cushions in, which are used if you want to make this a sunbed. They're actually really big. They come up to here. And you can of course lower the table and put the cushions on. But if you don't use them like we're doing now, you want to store them somewhere while not being having them in your way. So a great big storage below where there's a twin battery setup on this particular boat. So that means also peace of mind when you're anchoring and you want to stay on the water for a full day and have the audio on and the drink water pump is used every now and then. You don't want to be afraid of draining the battery and not being able to get back again, because this has a twin battery setup with the starter battery and the service battery separated, so then you can always get home. So this is about the cockpit area, and going further aft we come to the bathing platform with an outside shower, really useful. And here's the filler cap for the drink water tank. So it's all easily accessible. I always like having a shower. We have water now with the water heating up. It's sometime in July getting really warm. So you see the green stuff here. So it's still good to swim on, but it's nice to rinse off while having been swimming in the lake here. A really big bathing platform, plenty of space. What I like also is that Axopar made this in a way that it's a bit curved around the engine. So the engine is also slightly protected, but still it's big enough. It's only a 25 footer between brackets, but still it's big enough to move around. And there's a really nice, or good I should say, standard bathing ladder on the port side right here, which is underneath this bathing platform, with a grab rail to grab onto while getting out of the water. If you attach the optional skiing pylon, this can also be used to get out of the water or to get onto the boat while stepping on the boat from the side. I really like this. 95% of our customers on all Axopars have been choosing these. I would always recommend it. So a really nice solution. But there's an option to have a second bathing ladder, which is on the starboard side right here. And I like it because it's done in a way that you get in and out of the water more easily. If, for example, you want to bring people who are slightly older, this is just easier to get in and out of the water with. And it doesn't really block the bathing platform and make it a bit dangerous to trip over the swimming ladder, because it's all the way to the back, and you may notice that there's still place enough to get on and off the boat from this side. So a really good setup. Axopar chose to fit this particular Axopar 25 crossbow with the V8 Mercury at 250 horsepower outboard, which is also the maximum horsepower that Axopar is using on the 25. I think a great setup, and I think a lot of people will be choosing this. I think the boat will also handle really well with the V6 200 horsepower. I have an Axopar 28 with the twin V6 200 setup. I love those engines, but the V8s are even smoother, more silent, because they have the advanced middle section, whereas the V6s have the conventional mid section, which means basically that there's less vibration on the V8s. A really great engine with a lot of torque, making this boat really playful. But of course we'll take her out on the water in a moment and we'll get to experience that. There's a place here to attach the top light, which is stored underneath the hatch here in the cockpit. And of course you can attach a flagpole here with a nice Dutch flag preferably. So a great setup. What I also like is that they made this backrest slightly higher than the ones on the side. So if you want to stay seated for a longer time, this is a really nice place to do so. And of course the two seats are really useful to sit down for longer periods. These are a bit low, but the boat is always a compromise somewhere. And these being higher and having these nice bucket seats right there gives you lots of possibilities to sit comfortably for many hours. So really nice. Some people have been telling me, by the way, or asking me why the boat is only between brackets 2 meters, I think it's 2 meters 23 in beam. Because a lot of boats in this length are 2 meters 59, because that used to be a beam which was still allowed to trailer a boat with. Nowadays, especially in Holland and other European countries, we can tow boats on a trailer going up to 3 meters in beam, but that used to be the region, so 259. This is only 223. Axopar did that in order to take the transport cost down, because with that beam this boat could still fit into a container, making it less costly to transport it. And I personally think it's a great setup. And the added advantage is I'm going to the Lago di Garda soon this summer holiday, and I will probably be bringing an Axopar 22 with me, which has the same beam. And what I like is that it is not too beamy, because then you need additional mirrors. Otherwise you don't see anything looking backwards on the highway. So I think it's a really good setup, and just notice how big this is. I mean, they've really thought about this. Great setup, really social area, so there's plenty of beam. And of course it has advantages while driving, because slightly less beamy boats tend to have a better speed, better fuel economy, so really good. And the good thing also is that Axopar managed to get the beam all the way to the back, which I am also explaining in another video I did on the Axopar 25 in Cannes. We'll put a link in the video. And I'm also telling you about the hull, the shapes, the 3-piece mold that Axopar is using. Really good things to make this boat beamy going all the way to the aft, to use these sculpted hull sides, which I think is just a great accomplishment, because there's hardly, or maybe not even, no other boat builders doing that. So that's about the cockpit and the setup, and let me go inside. Before I do that, let me lift this just to show you how easy it is. This is actually really convenient, especially when you're anchored and you want to be able to get in and out of the cockpit easily, because then you have just more room. Me being the 1 meter 92 guy, is for me more easy to get in and out of the cabin like this, with this tilted up. So a great solution to get in and out of the cabin. Of course, it's what we call a weekender, so it's not huge, but it's big enough to sleep on. I'm always showing people how big it is. Again, I'm 1.92 m, feet first, and you can see that this is 2 meters, probably slightly over 2 meters even, so big enough to sleep on. Again, there's a hatch here, there's 2 speakers, there's a sink here so you could wash your hands. And one thing I like, I'm not sure if that is an option or not, but you have this Strut battery charger. It's a wireless pocket, more or less, where you put your phone in and it charges automatically. There's fuses. These are the controls for the toilet, which is underneath this hatch here. So a really practical cabin. There's some small storage pockets right here. There's a 12-volt socket. So everything you need is right here. Of course, there's light. I'm not sure if you can see it with this on this beautiful day, but there's indirect. That's the indirect light, and there's direct light right here. So plenty of lighting, and also really comfortable, convenient, and good looking. Of course, there's an access hatch to a technical compartment below here. Grab rails. You can use this to get in and out of the cabin. So really done in a nice way. Let me take this down, and let me also turn the seats so that we can take the boat out for a short spin. Now I have to figure out on which side these. Hang on. Yeah, it's right here. What I've noticed, by the way, is that on most boats, let me start her up in the meantime, on most boats I tend to use this flip-up seat, being able to drive like this, which also on this boat is really good and easy to use. But I've noticed while using this boat, we've been taking her out a couple of times, that I like on this particular boat, this being down. Let me take the seat back a bit. This being down and sitting here. And the good thing, and the reason that I'm mentioning it, is that usually, again, I use this to have a good overview. But this having a great overview, I mean, I can look through the window here and all the sides, of course, are open. There's plenty of visibility around you, and not only that, you're also sheltered, even with this window being in the lower position. It's really good that you can tilt it up, not only to get in and out of the cabin more easily, but also when you do want to stand up. I would, for example, suggest that if you have a water skier behind you, you stand up, use this leaning post, flip up bolster, to have good visibility of what's happening around you. And if you then tilt it up, you're still sheltered from the wind. So a great setup. I'm nearly convinced, I don't know to be honest, but I'm nearly convinced that Axopar has been making a mock-up, which is a 1-to-1 scale model, usually made out of cardboard or something, of this helm area, because what I've noticed again is that the ergonomics are really good. I already noticed that the controls for the bow thruster are on exactly the right spot. The controls for the engine are on the right spot. You have a really good visibility of this screen here. Switches are accessible, but not only that, the position of the seats from the helm here, the height of the seats, it's all, I would say, perfect. So a really nice, comfortable, ergonomically thought through dash and helm. So we're driving slowly, The engine is still warm because of course we took her out this morning. We're doing 10 kilometers an hour, 1300 RPM approximately. And a figure that I always tend to watch is this. We tend to use kilometers, by the way. Some people are sometimes asking me, why don't you use knots? Well, that is a choice, but we've noticed that a lot of first-time boaters tend to watch our videos and like the kilometers more. Sorry about that. But this saying 1.52 kilometers per liter is an interesting figure because it means that with 1 liter of fuel you can do 1.5 kilometer in distance. And now we're driving slow, but I've noticed driving fast and taking some photos earlier today that if you take her up to plane, I managed to get her up to 1.6, sometimes 1.7 even, so that the fuel economy at higher speeds is really, really good. So let me slowly take up the speed. By the way, this also has the automatic power steering. It's hydraulic, electrically power assisted, so it's really easy. This is a bit maybe too heavy for one finger, you could do it, but still it's really easy to turn this steering wheel just with one hand, so really easy to steer. Again, doing 10 kilometers an hour. Let me slowly pick up some speed. Look around me if there's other people which we may be bothering, but it's still early, so there's not a lot of people out on the water. So here we go, 13 kilometers and 15, 20. We're slowly bringing her up to plane, 26 kilometers an hour. Let me take down the speed a bit. What I've noticed, you may notice that I'm using the trim tabs, is that I tend to use the trim tabs on this Axopar 25 more often than I use it on the 28. So I would always recommend installing them. Still, if you do a bit of fast driving, you don't need them. Slow driving, you don't need them, and they're not even useful. But if you do a bit of planing, around 30-40 kilometers, we're doing 41 approximately at the moment, by the way. It is really convenient to be able to level the boat in a nice way and use these trim tabs, which are really user friendly and easy to use. So 40 kilometers an hour. I should really take her down again because I just notice that it's 1.73 even kilometers per liter, which is really good fuel consumption. You won't find other boats in the 25 feet segment which have such a good fuel economy. You see that I'm letting go of the wheel. Not only while planing I can do that, I mean it's really stable, just carries on like this, but also driving slow, which separates boats having an outboard versus boats having an inboard setup. They tend to go through the water like this. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but if you tend to drive slowly, it is really nice to have an outboard setup and a nice hull like this Axopar has, so that it's really stable and stays on course. 42 kilometers an hour. Let me pick up some more speed. I have to make a turn here. It's such a nice, fun boat. It feels sporty. 25 feet is not a small boat. And it still feels sporty, it feels quick. This V8 having lots of torque. We're doing 50 kilometers an hour in the meantime, catching some waves. And still, the engine is nice and smooth and quiet. We can still talk, and 50 kilometers an hour is quite fast already. But if I push the throttle, it's still pushed forward. It's really powerful. 75, 77. We're already at 79 kilometers an hour. It's really, really fast. And even doing these high speeds, I can make turns. No problem whatsoever. It's really fun to drive. I'm laughing because the cameraman is sitting on the hull side, so I have to be slightly careful that he doesn't fall off. Okay. Really great setup. By the way, what I did forget to tell you is that this boat is fitted also with this active trim. It's on now. There's lots of other possibilities to do. Smart throw control, cruise control. I won't get into the detail of that, but it's interesting if you do wakeboarding or water skiing. But this active trim controls the trim of the outboard automatically. So whereas you used to be trimming the engine with the press of a button with your thumb, that's no longer necessary, because if you take a turn, the engine trims down automatically, and if you come out of the turn, it trims up automatically. So really practical, convenient and comfortable system. But with that, I think we covered everything on this Axopar 25 crossbow. A great boat. We did a test before in Cannes. There's another video on that. But I really feel honored and pleased that we managed to get one in the Netherlands. This is the very first one, taking it out on the lake here in Aalsmeer. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in our next videos. Have a great day.